Oh, we're back here now at the KFYR Plus News Desk. With annual enrollment season now in full swing, many Americans are feeling increased pressure as they make benefit selections for 26. Yet, even as a record number of them near retirement age, just 1 in 4 have yet to consider their health care needs. Now, joining us to discuss some key things to consider is Andrew Adkins, VP Financial Consultant, Fidelity Investments. Andrew, welcome to the News Desk.
Glad to be here.
So as Americans begin selecting their health benefits for 2026, what key factors should they consider when evaluating their options?
Yes, so health insurance is one of the most important selection folks are going to make during that annual enrollment season that we're in. Coverage is going to be key. Looking back at your previous choices to make sure that those are still in line with you and your family's needs going forward. Costs are important too. And outside of just premiums, you want to evaluate co-payments, deductibles, as well as those max out-of-pockets. Providers, ensuring that you have in-network access to the healthcare professionals that you and your family needs. And then lastly, just understanding the plan type. So there's a lot of alphabet soup. You have HMOs and PPOs and high deductible plans. Those are important. And I'd suggest that if a high deductible plan is right for you and your family, maybe think about pairing that with an HSA as a way to really supercharge your benefits.
Yeah, let's talk about HSA. Break it down. What exactly are health savings accounts? I mean, they're kind of self-explanatory, but maybe break it down a little bit more for us, Andrew.
That's exactly right. So an HSA or health savings account is a tax-advantaged way to pay for medical expenses, both now as well as the future. And it's hard to find tax advantages that compete with an HSA. Great way to remember it is tax-free times 3. So to break that down, contributions that go into your HSA are actually pre-tax. Those funds can actually, if stayed in that HSA, grow tax deferred. And then lastly, as you take distributions or pay for medical expenses, those come out completely tax-free as well, as long as it's a qualified medical expense. So if you're enrolled in a high deductible plan, and that's either through your employer or even on the open market, an HSA could be a great way for you to save in a tax-advantaged way.
What's your advice for someone opening their very first HSA? Any common mistakes to avoid or tips to maximize their benefits?
Yes, when you're looking through those options, one of the common mistakes we see is FSAs versus HSA. So an FSA is a flexible spending account, but you have only the year to use the funds in that. With an HSA, you never have to worry about losing those contributions. They're always yours. So we kind of call them great travel partners because whether you leave your job or you retire, those funds never expire. They get to come along with you. But the other key thing to remember is when we talk about qualified medical expenses, it oftentimes really means a lot more than most people would assume. So of course you have your co-payments, your prescriptions, dental and vision, those things are covered. But everyday items like sunscreen or over-the-counter medication can also be covered. And then lastly, remember that an HSA actually can be used for your whole family. So if you need to go to the chiropractor or your spouse needs a pair of new glasses, or like me, you have a daughter who's getting braces in the next couple of weeks, an HSA has you covered there as well. So think of it almost like a financial first aid kit, whether you need a Band-Aid or you have a broken arm, an HSA has you covered.
How can HSAs be used not just for current medical expenses, but as you said, also a long-term investment tool?
Yes, so such an important distinction as well. Very much like retirement savings, 401ks, investing early and often can be incredibly important, especially considering the rising costs of healthcare. So Fidelity just recently estimated the average retiree is going to spend $172,500 out of pocket, and that's above and beyond Medicare. So while you can use the HSA now, and it offers that flexibility, the other consideration is to actually leave it, if you're in a position to do that, to grow tax deferred. Because once you're over age 65, that money in your HSA can actually be used penalty-free for other expenses too. Just keep in mind that those distributions may be taxable, like with your 401k or your IRA.
Okay. Fidelity's research shows that 1 in 4 Gen Xers haven't considered their healthcare needs in retirement. Why is this concerning, and how can HSAs help bridge that gap?
Absolutely. So we're seeing a growing gap in those who are really aware and planning for those incredibly high medical expenses that I mentioned earlier. So we often say that a failure to plan is a plan. It's just a plan to fail. And so it's so important that you set aside those savings early, take advantage of those triple tax advantages, and use that to build up almost a nest egg, but for healthcare and other expenses.
What advice do you give to someone in their 40s or 50s who, well, maybe haven't started planning for their healthcare costs in retirement?
Yes, I'd remind them that it's not too late. And although we're all unique and there's no one plan that's going to look just like the other, it's so important to make sure that you and your family have the coverage that you need, but are able to supercharge your benefits using, if you're in a high deductible savings plan, that HSA is an option as well. Use it now if you need to, but if you don't, if you're in good shape and you've got great health, continue to set aside those savings, build them up tax deferred, and then use those in retirement as another way to fund your lifestyle.
And where can people go to learn more about HSAs and determine if they're maybe if it's a right fit for their family?
Absolutely, and I hope they will. There's a ton of information on our website, which is fidelity.com/myHSA.
Andrew Atkins, VP Financial Consultant, Fidelity Investments. Thank you so much for the insight. Very important information this time of year.
Thank you.
All right, 8 minutes past the hour. Let's take a break here at the KFYR Plus News Desk. Back with more news next.